Most people tidy up their homes thinking about aesthetics, space, and comfort, without knowing that there is a millennia-old principle in Kabbalah that speaks about how the position of furniture affects the flow of energy and prosperity in the environment. Shalom, shalom. I'm glad you're here today. I want to start with a simple question. When you walk into your living room right now, where does your gaze go first? To the television? To the sofa? To a blank wall? Most people have never stopped to think about this consciously. And the Kabbalistic tradition has a lot to say about this first movement of the gaze, because it reveals where the center of gravity of your home is oriented. And the center of gravity of your home, according to the wise, has a direct relationship with the center of gravity of your prosperity. Today we are going to delve into a teaching that is kept in the more serious study circles of the Jewish tradition. A teaching about makom, which means place or sacred space, and about how the way we organize our physical environment communicates something profound about our relationship with shefa, the flow of divine abundance. If this type of content resonates with you, subscribe now and activate the bell. And let me know in the comments, when you enter your home, what is the first piece of furniture that catches your attention? This will be important shortly. There is a story told in the tradition I inherited, a parable that my grandfather used to explain this principle in a way that has never left my mind. Imagine a rabbi who visited the homes of his students when they were going through persistent financial difficulties. He did not arrive asking about debts or work. He would arrive, stand still at the door for a moment, observe the environment in silence, and then say what he saw. During one of these visits, he arrived at the house of a young merchant who worked hard but saw little result. The rabbi stood at the door, looked into the room, and asked a seemingly strange question. "Which way is the main table in your house facing?" The young man pointed. The table was turned away from the entrance. Whoever sat at it faced the wall with their back to the door. The rabbi said, "You have created a space where the homeowner is turned away from what arrives. No visitor, no opportunity, no flow enters without you needing to turn to receive it. This is not just a furniture arrangement. It is the posture of your soul materialized in space." The young man rearranged the table that very week. The rabbi did not promise that money would come. He promised that the posture would change. And the posture, over time, changes everything. This parable carries today's central teaching. Today you will discover three things. First, what Kabbalah teaches about makom, the sacred space, and why the physical environment where you live is not spiritually neutral. Second, what the principle of peh, the mouth, the opening, is, and how it applies to the entrance of your house and the position of your main furniture in relation to that opening. Third, a practical exercise of conscious reorganization that you can do this weekend, which, with practice and intention, cultivates an environment aligned with the reception of shefa. Let's start with the foundation. In Jewish tradition, the concept of makom is extraordinarily deep. Makom is one of the names of the Eternal himself, hamakom, the place. The Midrash says that it is not the world that is the place of God, but God who is the place of the world. This means that every physical space exists within a greater spiritual dimension. And when you consciously organize the space where you live, you are participating in something that goes far beyond decoration. The sages of the Talmud extensively discussed the sanctity of spaces, of the synagogue, the home, the room where one sleeps. They understood that the human being is profoundly affected by the environment in which they spend their time. The environment is not passive. It speaks, it communicates, it reinforces patterns or interrupts them. And Kabbalah goes a step further by saying that physical space can be a vessel, a keli, for the shefa, or it can be an obstacle to it. Depending on how it is organized, where it is oriented, what it is blocking or opening. Now let's talk about the specific concept that is at the heart of today's teaching, peh habayit, the mouth of the house. In Jewish tradition, the entrance of a house has a special status. That is why there is the custom of the mezuzah, the sacred parchment affixed at the entrance. The mezuzah is not decoration. It is a sign that that opening is sacred, that what enters and what exits passes through a portal that has spiritual intention. The Kabbalists taught that the entrance of a house functions like the peh, the mouth of the home. Just as the mouth is the point through which sustenance enters the body, the entrance of the house is the point through which shefa enters the home. And just as a blocked mouth prevents nourishment, a poorly positioned, overloaded, or unconsciously oriented entrance can create obstacles to the flow of prosperity. Now think about your entrance. What is the first thing that appears when you open the door to your home? A wall of scattered shoes? A pile of accumulated mail? A dark and narrow hallway? Or a clean space with a clear direction that invites those who enter to move forward with ease? Each of these scenarios communicates something. I'm not talking about feng shui or superstition. I'm talking about a principle of awareness that the Jewish tradition articulates clearly. The state of your space reflects and reinforces the state of your mind. And the mind that lives in a space of blockage, accumulation, and disorientation tends to reproduce these patterns in its financial decisions and in its relationship with receiving. There is a concept called Tselem Elohim, the divine image, which says that human beings were created in the image of the eternal. Kabbalists interpret this in a very specific way. Just as the Eternal created the world with order, with intention, with sacred structure, human beings have the capacity and the responsibility to create order and intention in their own space. Creating order is not perfectionism. It is not having a magazine-worthy home. It is having a space that communicates intention, that says, those who live here have clarity about what comes in and what stays. Those who live here have space to receive. Imagine someone like Roberto, a middle-aged man, hard-working, who for years wondered why, despite all his effort, his finances never stabilized. When he started studying these principles and made an honest analysis of the space where he lived, he realized something revealing. The chair where he made the main decisions of his life, where he paid bills, where he planned, where he thought, was in a dark corner of the room, facing a wall, with his back to the window and the door. He was literally making his most important decisions in a space of contraction, isolated from the flow. This is clearly an illustration, but the pattern it represents, the decision space oriented towards closure instead of openness, appears with surprising frequency when you start to pay attention. Now let's delve into the fundamental Hebrew terms for this teaching. The first is makom, place, space. We have already talked about it as a divine name, but in Kabbalistic practice, makom also refers to the space you occupy in the world. Your makom is not just physical, it is the position you occupy in the web of relationships, responsibilities, and purpose. When your physical space is in order, your spiritual makom becomes clearer. The second is tzniut, which is usually translated as modesty, but in Kabbalah has a broader meaning, the quality of having interiority, of not having everything exposed and spread out. A space with tzniut is not a hidden space. It is a space that has internal organization, that does not spill out what should be kept inside. Visible clutter, disorder, the feeling that everything is exploding outward, this is the opposite of tzniut in space. The third is or, light. Kabbalists spoke a lot about the quality of light in spaces, not just spiritual light, but physical light. An environment with good natural lighting, with unobstructed windows, with space for light to circulate. This environment is more aligned with Or Elyon, the superior light that the Zohar describes as the source of Shefa. Blocking physical light in a space is, symbolically, blocking receptivity to spiritual light. The room is Seder, order. We have already mentioned this term in the previous script about meals, but here it appears in a different context, the Seder of space. The wise taught that all divine creation has Seder. The world was created with structure, sequence, hierarchy of importance. The human being who creates Seder in their space is imitating the creative action of the eternal. And where there is Seder, the Shefa finds a way to flow. And the fifth, central to today's practice, Hachnasat Orchim, hospitality, literally bringing guests inside. This is one of the highest values in the Jewish tradition. Abraham was famous for having his tent open on all four sides so that he could see and receive travelers from all directions. The Kabbalists taught that a space prepared to receive, organized, clean, oriented towards the entrance, is practicing Hachnasat Orchim, not only with people, but with opportunities, with blessings, with the Shefa itself. The time for practice has come. This exercise is called Tikkun HaMakom, the correction of space, and you will do it in 3 steps over 7 days. 7 because, as you know, 7 is the number of the complete cycle in Jewish tradition. 7 days of creation, 7 of the week, 7 of Shabbat. Step 1. The honest diagnosis. In the next 2 days, you will walk through each main area of your home with a different perspective. Not the perspective of someone who lives there and no longer sees anything. The perspective of someone seeing it for the first time. In each area, note one thing. What is the position of the main piece of furniture in relation to the entrance? Is it facing the person entering, to the side, or turned away? You don't need to change anything yet. Just observe and note. Step 2. The cleaning of the pay. On the 3rd and 4th day, take care exclusively of the entrance to your home. Remove any objects that are blocking the natural path of those entering. Accumulations of shoes, boxes, mail, furniture that narrow the hallway. The goal is not to decorate, it is to clear the way. The mouth of the house needs to be open. While cleaning, say softly or internally, I open this space to receive what the Eternal has prepared for me. Step 3. The conscious repositioning. On the 5th and 6th day, choose only one piece of furniture, the most important one in the space where you work or make financial decisions. A table, a chair, a desk. Move that piece of furniture so that when you are sitting in it, you are facing the opening of the environment, whether it is the door or the main window. Not with your back to it, facing it. You want to be positioned to see what comes in, not to lose sight of the entrances. On the 7th day, rest. Do nothing else in the space, just live in it consciously. Observe how you feel in the environments you have reorganized. Write down in your practice notebook a word that describes the feeling. This word is your indicator that the tikkun is happening. I need to tell you something before I finish, because the resistance that will appear here is very specific. Many people will read these steps and think, my house is small, I have no space to reorganize anything. Or, I rent, I can't move the furniture. Or, I have children, it's impossible to maintain any order. These are real objections, and the tradition's response to them is this. Tikkun does not require perfection. It requires intention. Even in a small space, even in a rented apartment, even with children and chaos and real life, you can clear the entrance. You can reposition a chair. You can clean a surface. You can turn on a light in a dark corner. The Eternal does not require you to build a temple. It requires you to take care of the space you have with the awareness that it matters. And about mental resistance, the voice that says this is nonsense, that furniture has nothing to do with money, that you are wasting time. Recognize that voice. It is the klipa of rationalization. It will try to convince you that nothing needs to change. Don't argue with it. Just move the furniture. If you do this exercise and notice something, a different feeling in the space, greater clarity in your decisions, a lightness that wasn't there before, I would love to hear. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It can simply be, I cleaned the entrance of my house and felt lighter. That is already real. That is already tikkun in action. Share in the comments. Today you learned that the space where you live is not neutral. It communicates and reinforces spiritual and financial patterns. You learned the principles of makom, tzniut, or, seder, and hachnasat orchim. You understood the concept of peh habayit, and how the position of your main furniture in relation to the entrances of your space reflects your orientation towards receiving. And now you have the Tikkun HaMakom, 7 days of concrete practice to start this weekend. And now, before you go, I want to bless you. It is written, the Eternal will bless your coming and your going. Not just your plans, not just your efforts, your coming, the point where you arrive, and your going, the point where you depart. May this blessing be literal in your home today. May the Eternal bless every entrance of your home, unobstructed, open, oriented to receive. May He bless the space where you make your decisions, so that they are made with clarity and not with contraction. May the Or, the light, find space to circulate in every environment of your life. And may the Shefa that has already been prepared for you find in your reorganized space a Keli worthy and open to receive it. Ken Yehi Ratzon, so be it. Amen. If this teaching was useful to you, leave a like. It helps the channel reach more people who seek this type of content. Subscribe and activate the bell so you don't miss the next teachings. and share with someone you feel could benefit from reorganizing the space where they live. And tell me in the comments, what is the first piece of furniture that catches your attention when you enter your home? Now that you have learned this principle, what will you look at differently? Next week, we will talk about a principle called lashon, the tongue, the words, and how the Kabbalistic tradition teaches that the words you speak about money within your own home are shaping the spiritual field of that space in a way that very few people understand. Don't miss it. Until then, shalom.